here goes nothing. Now the reason I did that before I cut the front of the frame off was to see if when this was cut, if it sprung out. Like if it, you know, sprung out like this. Let me get in the camera here. It's where you cut a piece right down the middle, and if it springs out, it didn't spring out. The only thing it did is it pinched together a little bit, which is good. So it has a little bit of tension pulling this way, but it's not a big deal. I just have to spread it here to get the saw back out, and then I can move on to chopping the front frame horns off. Another thing I've been keeping my eye out for is a porta power, but they're expensive. So I'm looking for a used one, whatever. If you don't have a porta power, if you remember one of the first episodes I made, you have these scissor jacks. They're stock OEM car scissor jacks, and you have that, and the 2x4. You ultimately have a cheap porta power. Set the laser up, did a lot of measuring, double checking, squaring the cab, making sure it was all right. And cab's about 3/16 off. It needs to move forward about 3/16. So instead of fiddling with that, I just made up the fucking... So instead of doing that, I just offset everything 3/16 to make sure everything was gonna work. So everything where the frame rails are gonna get cut should be good. I just have to cut the steel now. And I fitted the front fender on. That's ride height, so, well, it might go up from there because this garage floor is pitched pretty damn bad. So that front wheel probably has to go up a little more. And let me see here. Whoa. Yeah, I think it's gotta go up a little more than that. Yeah, all this shit's cut out. Windshield's a little dirty. It's the inside of a Nissan frame rail. Got a little hoopar, however the hell you say it. It's a little cheap laser off Amazon, but it shoots a straight line. So, and it's not $600. So I traced some lines out. So shut that guy off. Got my lines up top. And next thing is to get a measurement of the inside width on these rockers and cut a piece of steel up, cap it off, and get it ready to put in here. Well, I decided to set up kind of where the hoop over the transmission is going to go on this brace. That's about where it's going to go, right there. So there is not a lot of foot room in here. I might be able to bump that over here because depending on where the engine's going to sit, the slave cylinder off the transmission is on the left side. So that might be able to get bumped over maybe an inch to the right, but as for now, this looks like it. It's gonna be nice and tight. Yeah, it's doing something there. I don't know. Clutch is gonna go. Yeah. I don't know. Well, I also got this today. Oh, from JD2. Box is like 30 pounds. Man. Oh, staples. Yeah. Holy sweet. Pointer. Woo! It's the 1 5/8 die for my bender, because that is one of the only dies I don't have to start on this cage. 5.5 inch centerline radius. Yeah. Now I can go pick up the steel and start getting this damn cage done. Well, what started off yesterday is what I thought was going to be cutting this off, putting the bar on the front, tube, whatever, just completely turned into a shit show of more stuff to do. As you can see, I have the engine kind of mocked up here on some cribbing, dunnage, whatever you want to call it. And with this subframe where I ultimately wanted it, everything is up way too high. So I'm going to have to cheat the subframe down. If that messes with my lower control arms that much, I'll just have to build the lower control arms a lot sooner than I wanted to and put taper studs in the lowers so that I can push the control arm back down. Obviously with the subframe up to, but the subframe a little low and the car lowered, your lower control arms start to point up towards the outside. So what I'll do is make a ball joint stud and space it out to basically correct everything over there. But that's down the road now. So, because ultimately what I did is put this back in here to see about where everything was gonna land. So, take this off of here. As of right now with the subframe, the engine and transmission sit under 2 inches further back than where they originally were. So the drive shaft is getting shortened because the area to hit with that oil pan between the steel and aluminum subframes, there's not a lot of wiggle room. So that's no big deal. Sending the drive shaft back to get shortened is going to be the easy part. Let's see if I can see. Yeah, if you can see back there, she's super close there. I don't want the pan to stick out any lower than the subframe. And if you can see up front, yeah, there's a little bit of room, a little bit of wriggle. I'm sorry, that's the steering rack. Let me get one. Yeah, it's up there. You can probably get a finger in there. And then the engine can't come down any lower because of the steering rack. It's literally sitting probably 1/4 inch off the steering rack. So, yeah. So next thing is to get this front bar welded on, get some hard measurements on the wheelbase, and start figuring it out from there. I might have to do something completely different up here in the front from running a frame rail like I was going to and come up off it and come over to catch this. But that is going to eliminate almost any foot room I have down here left. Yeah, you get it. So what I might have to do is where this bar is going to be over here, somehow come off of that and come down and connect this and try to stay out of the foot area directly forward of where I'm going to be sitting. The next obstacle after that is getting this knuckle on and turning the car full left, turning the steering wheel full left, or taking the rack full left, and seeing where that wheel is going to end up in here. So, I guess now I'll just start yanking this stupid thing back out. Alright, so yeah, just like yesterday, I need to make those 2 cuts. I already cut the piece that's going to go in there. It's this guy right here, and that was originally going to be where the 2 frame rails were going to go, is on those lines. That's the center, but obviously with this changing, we're going to go ahead and get that bar on here, and yeah, probably, trying to think. Get the bar on here, get the subframe located, figure out what height I'm going to mount it at, and then probably put the engine in one more time just to double check everything. I also have to re-weld. You see that guy right there? Yeah, it's not the greatest. Because at the time, the only welder I had access to was a scratch start machine. So I don't know if you know anything about welding, but it's not like a foot pedal. Scratch start works, whereas you set the machine on 80 amps, 100 amps, whatever you put it on. You literally get the tungsten over to it, and you scratch the tungsten on the workpiece to get the arc started. So there's not a lot of fine control you have with it, because as soon as you arc off, it's full bore, whatever you have the machine set at, and it's time to go. And I welded that up in the ceiling of a powerhouse on my lunch break with a scratch start machine. So trying to tack it with a scratch start, trying to do everything, like it wasn't the greatest. So yeah, go ahead and fix that while this thing's sitting down here. And that's probably gonna be it for this one. Hopefully next episode the bar will be in. Next episode will be about the MG, my girlfriend's MG. So look for that. That's probably gonna come a few days after this one. Yeah, that's probably gonna come a few days after this one. So it's her 68 MGB. We're putting a 3SGE in it. To stop looking at the screen up there. I really need to stop doing that. So yeah, the MG is gonna be the next video. The MG might be the next video after this one. My hand's shaking so much. But yeah, MG, hoping to put a 3SGE in it. Nothing too crazy, just get it running. Maybe fab some control arms for it. Maybe make some cowl tracks if we keep the leaf springs in the back. If not, go with a little 4-link and a pan hard bar or something like that. So, yeah, I think that's it.